Welcome to Horizons of Thought. Today, I want to talk about treating people with dignity and the reasons people choose to deny dignity to others. I'm going to start by discussing division of labor. Humans have divided labor amongst different groups since the beginning of time. Men and women, for instance, have engaged in different tasks throughout history. In agrarian societies, while men and women typically farm together, men would be more likely to travel and women more likely to work from home and raise children. This is mostly due to the fact that women give birth to the next generation, and new babies have needed to be breastfed pretty much until the advent of baby formula by Justus von Liebig in 1865. And to this day, babies are healthiest if they are exclusively breastfed during the first 6 months of their lives. Humans have also tended to give different jobs to people of different ages because as we get older, we get physically weaker, but we also tend to know more things and have more social skills. It is therefore common for children to do simple household chores, teens to begin harder labor, young adults to go to war and have children, and older adults to become the storytellers, run the businesses, and enter politics. Division of labor can make life easier for everybody and generate wealth and happiness in the society. Because of increased education, practice, and a shared social organization, people tend to then get good at their specific jobs. And to paraphrase the wisdom of Napoleon Dynamite, people like people with skills. But at the same time, division of labor can quickly lead to problems. Specific jobs can be valued more, especially if the jobs involve combat skills, political leadership, storytelling, or running businesses. Other jobs get valued less, especially if the job is relatively simple, and even more so if there are also a lot of people who can do the jobs and not very many of those jobs available. This inequality will also come in the form of income and prestige differences. These can become quite extreme. Early forms of labor often involved a time of service to pay debt, and systems of slavery developed soon after. Slavery came up so early in human societies that you can actually track inflation in the ancient world by tracking the price of slaves. And oh boy, have we humans come up with an incredible array of excuses for enslaving each other. We have done so because people committed crimes, got captured in war, owed debts, were seen as a physical threat to the slaveholders, or were a different religion or skin color. While slavery is less common today, the conflict between division of labor and division of dignity has remained. Most of us live in complex societies, and almost everything we use or rely on has been made by the labor of thousands of different people living very different lives. Your smartphone will have been made by the work of fabulously wealthy corporate executives, highly paid programmers and hardware designers, lesser paid assemblers, and horrendously treated men, women, and children who mine the rare earth elements that help make the thing run. The division of labor itself is inevitable. We need to divide people into groups all the time to get work done. No one would let me work in a mine. I don't have the skills, training, or the will to keep at the job. And most people watching won't be able to do phonetics research like I normally do because they also don't have the skill, training, and willpower. And to do my job, you'd also need to be a computer programmer, statistician, illustrator, and writer, among many other skills. Differences in pay for different jobs are therefore inevitable. It is almost impossible to run a complex business without chief officers who have very specialized skills that command huge fees. Similarly, many jobs are very low skilled with lots and lots of people desperate to do that work, even at low pay. For many, the alternatives are much worse. And don't kid yourself. You yourself will always come up with excuses to deny dignity to others. It takes daily willpower and effort to avoid it. You'll encounter groups of people who handle aspects of life better than other groups, and you will be tempted to judge people based on their groups as a result. But if you want a world where dignity is shared, you need to admit your weaknesses to yourself and to your close friends. Then you need to work past your own prejudices to get to know the individuals you encounter. Look, you will encounter groups of people who are dumber or smarter, nicer or meaner, weaker or more powerful than other groups. But you cannot know the story of any individual in any of these groups until you talk to them and see their actions. You must, as Martin Luther King once extolled, judge people by the content of their character. Denying dignity to others simply because they belong to a group you identify as offensive to you doesn't make the world a better place. To make it clear to modern people, that includes CEOs as well as janitors, men as well as women. When you deny people dignity, you are not part of the solution. You are part of the problem. And you cannot fix the world by treating people according to your understanding of their group identity alone. Look, even if your neighbor looks like you, they might actually live in a very different society from you. They may practice a different religion, organize their families differently from you, have different political beliefs from you, and know different things than you do. And who are you to judge? If you meet a family where the mother takes care of the children while the father goes to work, are they treating each other with less equal dignity than a couple where both work? And what of the dignity of their children? You can make guesses, but unless you know the people involved, you are just guessing. Do people who live simpler lives on farmers afford more dignity than those who live in complex cities? If I am to judge by history, the answer is quite likely no. Does merely attempting to flatten economic disparity solve the problem? Judging by the history of Soviet gulags, political imprisonment, disappearances, and purges, not by itself it won't. But at the same time, the situation is not at all hopeless. When you meet people, you can treat them with dignity directly. When you meet wake staff, garbage collectors, housewives, and house husbands, you can be kind, smile, and communicate how valuable their job is. You can pay attention in your community, look out for people others consider invisible, and help them with money, time, and education. When you meet nursing mothers, show respect when they feed their babies. I once saw an academic talk where the speaker was a mother holding her child and nursing them. Awesome! One more barrier down. When you meet tough-looking men with tattoos, watch how they behave before you judge how they look. When you meet disabled people, don't put up barriers that interfere with their ability to do work, either directly or by failure to build infrastructure well, or through voting for bad welfare programs that disincentivize work. On that front, when you vote for local leaders who decide your taxes, you can insist the people who work for your community make a decent living. If you own a business, pay your people fairly. If you can't afford to pay them well, you can at least be upfront about it. You can also make sure that your staff have the chance to learn financial skills themselves. I've met people with very low incomes who were destined to retire well because they made wise financial choices and learned how to do so. We can also make sure we know our supply chains so we don't buy products, parts, and materials made by slave labor. At the same time, if you meet a rich person or a politician, you can make sure you don't act cruelly towards them or exploit their weaknesses to make yourself feel good. If you make the jobs of leaders miserable and cruel to experience, then only miserable and cruel people will do those jobs. In short, treat each other with dignity. This has been Horizons of Thought. If you like this episode, click like. If not, click dislike and tell me why in the comments. If you want to help this channel grow, click subscribe and then click the bell for notifications. If you want to support this channel, go to the donor box link below. I provide benefits based on the subscription rate. Have a nice day and see you in a few days.